Hi, I'm Tom Ziglar, CEO of the Zig Ziglar Corporation. I'm so excited that you're with us right here on the Ziglar Coaching Academy. We're digging into Zig Ziglar's legendary program, Building Winning Relationships, which is part of Strategies for Success, the Blueprint for Achievement. This is actually part 2 of the series. And so if you haven't listened to part 1, go watch that first and then watch part 2. You can listen to the whole series. This is the 3rd of the program, right? So it's actually the 6th lesson here, and we've got more to come. So go ahead, dig in. Let's listen right now to Zig Ziglar's legendary wisdom.
For example, the redhead is one of the finest car door openers in Dallas, Texas. She's been written up in the Dallas Morning News for her car door opening ability. She's good at it. Despite the fact that in over 52 years, she hasn't opened her own car door a dozen times. But every time I walk around that door to open the door for her, I'm reminded, here's the most important person on earth to me. It's a wonderful reminder. Several years ago, I stopped carrying my money in a wallet and started carrying it folded up in my pocket. In the evening, I would lay it up on the bathroom counter, and the redhead started counting my money. And if she didn't think I had enough to take care of emergencies on my next out-of-town trip, she'd go down and get me some more. Now, that's not a big deal, but it says an awful lot. It said, honey, you're very important to me, and I'll feel a lot better knowing that the most important person in my life, in the event of some kind of an emergency where you need cash, that you might be embarrassed, delayed, or even endangered. That's what the message says. It's the little things that make the big difference.
Wow, what did you think of that section right there? And here's a coaching principle for you. Micro acts signal macro value. Let me say that again. Micro acts, small things, signal macro value. Small courtesies compound trust. What are the little things that we can do that will create influence and set an example? So here's the coaching question for you. What tiny daily gesture would most make your partner feel prized? What's the little thing? Getting the cup of coffee, that special greeting that you memorialize in your relationship would take you to that next level.
Step number 4, follow the example of the Jews. Here's an interesting fact. Bill Glass has been in 350 plus prisons, many of them many times. Bill Glass, ladies and gentlemen, has talked to thousands of men one-on-one in prisons. He said he has never found a single person incarcerated who really loved their fathers, not even one. And most of them hate their fathers. They take their hate out on you and me. 94% of the people incarcerated are men. We can build all the jails and prisons we want to. We can hire all the police people we want to. We can pass all the laws, hire all the judges we want to. We will never solve the crime problem until we solve the father-son problem. That's where it exists. Now, here's where the Jews have really done something extraordinary. In Florida, for example, there are 40,000 people incarcerated. 94% of them are Jews. 13 of them, not 13,000, 13 out of 40,000 are Jews. In Arkansas, it's 7 out of 7,500 that are Jews. In one military study they did, 3 out of 36,000 were Jews, and 2 of them said the other one wasn't. Now, what do they do that makes such a difference? They do 3 things, and it doesn't take long. You can do the same thing. The Jewish father to his son, whether the son is 2 years old, 20 years old, or 65 years old, says, bless you, my son. I love you, son. Then he gives him a big old hug and a big old kiss. Makes all the difference in the world. Now, us fellas, we hug and kiss our girls, but you know, when the boys get a little older, we're hesitant to do that. I got to tell you, when I heard Bill Glass, though my son and I have a wonderful relationship together, as close as 99 and 9/10% of all fathers and sons are. But when I heard Bill Glass, I started back to hugging my boy and telling him how much I loved him. And a beautiful relationship became even more beautiful. When I see my son today, and he's the president and CEO of our company, I no longer stick my hand out to shake his hand. If I see him on the golf course or in church, and if he's got 3 or 4 corporate clients in his office, I no longer shake hands with my boy wherever he is. I give him a big old hug. That's what we need to do. With our kids, we need to do that. Express appreciation for them, and that gives them significance. Express availability, and that gives them importance. Express affection, and that makes them lovable. We need to do those things.
So I love the Jewish tradition of the father's blessing. Here's the coaching principle. Expressing blessing, love, and affection builds secure identity. When you just tell somebody, I love you and I bless you because of who you are, you're mine, not what you've done. It's just your value is secure when you do that. So here's the question for you. And if you're coaching someone in a relationship and they're struggling in that relationship, you can take this question and use it in that session. Here it is. What affirmation and affection will you give your child or your mentee or your significant other, or in the appropriate way, even a team member? What affirmation or affection can you show a team member today that would help them grow and know that trust you have in them is real? And when you do this, be very, very specific.
My dad died when I was 5 years old. There were 6 of us too young to work. We survived because we had a wonderfully wise, hardworking, loving mother with great faith. We also had 5 milk cows and a big garden. All of us started helping around the house very early in our careers, in our childhood. I remember my first solo assignment in the garden. I had to hoe 2 rows of beans, and the rows were 3.5 miles long. Would you believe 3? But when you're 8 years old, they looked like they were 3.5 miles long. My mother showed me what she wanted me to do and how she wanted me to do it. And then she said, son, now, when you finish, call me and I'll come look it over. Well, I finally got through and I said, Mama, I'm through. Well, my mother was a little bitty lady. She always wore a cloth sunbonnet over her head to protect her face from that hot Mississippi sun. And when she was not happy with what we had done, you could always tell. She would always fold her hands behind her back. She would always duck her head. She'd always cock it slightly to the right, and she'd give you that little left to right motion, Well, when she started that, I said, what's the matter, Mama? And my mama said, son, it looks like you're going to have to lick this calf over. Now, is there anybody here so underprivileged that you do not clearly understand that perfectly plain old Mississippi colloquialism, lick that calf over? Anybody doesn't understand that? Well, don't be embarrassed about being ignorant. They're just a lot of folks hadn't had the same benefits in life I have. Well, let me tell you, I knew exactly what it meant. What it meant was, son, you got to do this job over. But I was trying to buy time, so I said, Mama, hadn't been messing with that calf. I've been hoeing these beans. She kind of laughed and said, well, son, what I mean is this. For most people, what you've done would be perfectly all right. But you're not most people. You're my son. And my son can do better than this. Now let's look at the leadership and management principles that are involved in this, the relationship that is there. Let's look first of all, she was a wise lady. Limited education, 5th grade, but wisdom really is a gift from God. And as an aside, you will never see or hear an arrogant, wise person. That's not going to happen. Now, you'll see an arrogant, knowledgeable person, but not a wise one. My mother had wisdom. Now, the second principle I want to point out, is that we knew that she was going to instruct us on how to do what she wanted us to do. And this is a good leadership management principle, isn't it? We need to teach our people exactly how to do what we want them to do. In this high-tech world with computers changing every other day, even though a person might be an expert on it, each one has its little idiosyncrasies, and we need to give them a chance. My mother had told me exactly how to hoe those beams. That's the second thing we knew about it. Third thing we knew was that she was going to inspect to make certain she got what she expected. It's terribly discouraging to a child or to an employee to give them an assignment and never say good job or thank you for that. Now, obviously, if they show up at 8 and leave on 5 and that's their job and nothing is unusual about it, you just are courteous and pleasant with them. But when they stay later, when they go above and beyond, a simple thank you is so important. The next principle is our mother had set certain standards. You see, she had clearly taught us, she expected us to do our best, not be the best. See, that's an impossible standard because everybody can't be the best at everything. Now, I'm certain my mother had never heard this phrase, but she also was demonstrating something. She understood, you see, that failure is an event. It's not a person. I wasn't a bad boy. I just did a lousy job. That's what she was saying to me. But son, you're a good boy. As a matter of fact, you're so good, I cannot accept substandard work from you. It's unfair to the child, to the employee, or to anyone else. You build low ceilings on them when you do it that way. She had criticized their performance, you see. It needed criticized. To let some shoddy work get through is absolutely unfair to everyone, including our customers. Is this not so? She had praised the performer. He needed the praise. His self-image was fine after that. Now, I don't remember jumping up and down and saying, oh boy, I'm gonna get a chance to do this one again. I don't remember that. But in retrospect, as I look back on my life, I realize that the finest thing that had happened to me, and I don't know when, was exactly what happened that day.
Gosh, I always smile when I hear that Mississippi saying, lick that calf over again. And, you know, when you talk about hoeing that row of beans, I could see Dad in the garden as a little boy seeing miles of beans that he's got to hoe and all the work. But what did you learn from that? Here's the coaching principle. Correct the work, not the worth. Set standards, inspect and praise the person. Yeah, we always, we shorten this and we say praise in public, criticize in private. And I don't even like the word criticize. I like the way my grandmother approached it of, hey, here's the standard and you're my son, you're my boy, and you can do better than that. And so that is the appropriate way to correct the work. And of course, we always do that in private. So here's the question that you can use in your coaching with yourself and with others. Where do you need to redo the job without attacking the person, including yourself? So maybe you completed a project and it wasn't really everything that you wanted it to be. How can you go back through that and ask yourself, how can I do that better next time? Give yourself the grace and then focus on the growth. I'm going to do it better next time. And the same with those you serve. Okay, let's go back in and watch the video. It gets even better.
Where does all of this work? Does it work in athletics? Well, I got to tell you folks, it works in athletics too. We have a young man here this evening with us. His name is D.W. Rutledge. He teaches our coaches football down in Judson, Converse Judson, close to San Antonio, part of the Metroplex there. If you're familiar with 5A football, you know something of their record down there. Teaching all of these principles we've been talking about. In 1983, when he was the defensive coordinator, they won the 5A state championship. Next year, he was the head coach there, and they won the 5A state championship. Since 1990, they have won the state championship 3 times and they finished runner-up 3 times. He has a record, I believe, of 174 victories, 25 losses, and 5 ties. Is that pretty close, Coach? Now, when you start looking at how on earth does a man in Texas football, now I know there's a certain amount of pride in what I'm going to say. You know, I was raised over in East Texas, better known as Mississippi. And my mama used to say to me, son, don't ever ask anybody where they're from. She said, if they're from Texas, they'll tell you. And she said, if they're not, why would you embarrass them by asking? You know, so yes, there is a certain amount of state pride involved here. But the reality is that football in Texas is big time, and 5A football, the best of the best. When you think of that kind of a one-loss record, when you think of that kind of state championship and runner-up in that period of time, there's got to be a lot to it. Well, the reason is Coach Rushford teaches boys in football. Oh, he teaches about X's and O's and all of that stuff. But along with his good friend, best friend actually, Dennis Parker, what he does is he teaches coaching that changes lives.
Wow. Legendary Texas football coaches, Rutledge and Parker, and coaching to change lives. That is something that is incredible. So what are it's funny, we're talking about football coaches and we're talking about coaching. So what is the principle that comes out with this? Here's the coaching principle from this story. Values-based coaching wins on the field because it wins in life. And here's the question that I want you to think about. How can you coach for character first in your team or organization or individual? Character always wins the long game. Character is that differentiator that sets you apart. In fact, my dad said that the number one reason for his success was character and honesty and integrity. So that is what set him apart. Those are the things he always focused in on. And so when you combine that character, that integrity with an incredible work ethic, then you really are set up for success. Wow, that's powerful. Now I want you to watch the very end of the video. And you'll see when you watch it, this is a story that means more to me than just about any story that Dad ever told. So let's get into it. Watch this video.
So I want to close this segment with a love story. Some of you probably have already gathered that I kind of like to play golf. As a matter of fact, there's nothing I enjoy any more than getting out on that golf course and teeing that little white sucker up there and rearing back. And I don't get to play very often, so when I do, I get after it. I rear back and I bust that dude as far as I can hit it. Boom! Then if I can find it, I hit it again. Well, our son came along 10 years after our youngest daughter. And by the time he came along, I was traveling a whole lot. And so I hated to come home and kiss the wife and son goodbye. The daughters were already out of the house, and go play golf. But I love to play golf. And so I came up with an absolutely brilliant idea. I bought my wife and my son a set of golf clubs. Everybody's excited about it, except my wife and my son. But they went along with me, for a few games, and after about a half dozen games, the redhead said, honey, I just don't like to play golf. It's too hot, or it's too cold, or it's too wet, or it's too dry, it's too windy, it's too something, just count me out. Well, I went golf buddy number 1. But she said, now, you and Tom need to keep playing because he likes to spend time with you, and you like to spend time with him, so y'all be about it. Well, by the end of the summer, my boy said, Dad, I don't hardly know how to tell you this. Said, because I know how good you like to play golf, and you like to be with me, and Dad, I like to be with you too, but Dad, I just don't like to play golf. Now I'll go fishing with you, I'll wrestle with you, I'll throw the football with you, I'll do all these things with you, but Dad, I just don't like to play golf. So there went golf buddy number 2. Well, for the next couple of years, I didn't have much golf in my life. And then one night I was at home. We went out to dinner. My sticks were in the trunk of the car. We rode past the driving range, the old Dow Rich driving range over here on North Central Expressway. And all of a sudden, my son said, "Dad, let's stop and hit a few." Well, my boy's a smooth talker. So we stopped to hit a few. We've been hitting a couple of minutes. He said, "Dad, let me borrow one of your woods." And so I gave him my 4-wood, and he reared back, and he busted that sucker about 40 yards further than he'd ever hit a golf ball before in his life. Now, when he turned around, that smile on his face clearly said, "Ziglar, you got yourself a golfing buddy now." Ah, the second most beautiful smile I've ever seen on that boy's face. It really was. Now, the most beautiful one was a couple of days later. We were out at the club. We were on a par 4. He took that 4-wood and he reared back and he busted that sucker right down the middle. Had a little draw on it. Hit the ground running like a scared rabbit. Stopped dead center. Perfect position right in the middle of the fairway. Get down there and he takes his 5-iron, and just like you see the pros do, he kept his head down, smooth stroked it. That sucker took off, landed as soft as a butterfly with sore feet on that green. He's about 40 feet from the pin. He's hunting his bird. Now, if you're not a golfer, that means if he sinks the putt, he's 1 under par on this hole. If you don't know what that means, it means he done good, okay? So I showed him how to line up, and I showed him how to stroke it, and just like that ball had eyes, it went straight to the bottom of that cup. When that ball hit the bottom of that cup, that boy jumped straight up in there about 6 feet. Still beat me to the ground by 4 seconds. I'm telling you, you're talking about excitement. This was, as he would say today, a time of great rejoicing. I grabbed that boy and hugged him. We did a victory dance there for a couple of minutes, and all of a sudden it occurred to me that I had a problem. I was on the green in 2 also. I was only about 8 or 10 feet from the pin. I was hunting my bird. Now, I knew if I missed it, he'd figure I'd done it on purpose so he could win. That would have given him a cheap victory, which in the final analysis is quite a loss. So I determined that I was going to do the very best I possibly could, so that if I did miss it, then I could honestly say, "Son, you won it fair and square." Now, my best effort always includes a little providential help, which I believe is perfectly legitimate, even on the golf course, maybe especially on the golf course. Well, anyhow, I lined it up, and just like the ball had eyes, it went straight to the bottom of that cup. I had my bird. Now, before I reached down to pick it up, I looked at my son and I said, "Now, son, tell me the truth. Were you pulling for Dad?" Now, I think you know what it would have meant had I missed. He's 11 years old. He'd never beaten me in a hole of golf. It would have meant an awful lot. And yet, calmly but firmly, without any hesitation, my boy looked at me and he said, "Dad, I always pulled for you." Folks, that's love. That's pure love.
Wow, that story always brings my heart fully alive. I can remember playing golf with Dad, started when I was about 12, really until he passed away. So that was, 40 plus years of enjoying that with Dad. And what a blessing that was for me. To have those times with him, and nobody loved golf more than Dad. When he sank a long putt, it was like boom, he would let the whole world know. And then whenever I did something good, I think he got more excited for me than he did for himself. And so that statement, "Dad, I always pull for you," that's true. But guess where I learned it from? I learned it from Dad always pulling for me. Now, I want you to know that he was super competitive and he loved to win. But the only thing he loved more than winning was to see the people he loved do well. And so that's what made our time so special. And so here's the coaching principle out of this section. Love means wanting and working for the other person's win. If we're leading people on our team, we want them to win. In our family, we want them to win. If we're out with a friend, we want them to win. We always enjoy and get great satisfaction out of the wins that the people closest to us get. the more we can celebrate their wins, the closer that connection can be. And so as you think about coaching yourself, here's a question. Who are you actively pulling for, and how will they know it this week? What word of encouragement, what note, what comment, what specific phone call or conversation can you have with that person to encourage them to say, hey, I'm pulling for you, so that they would actually know that? Because until you tell them, they might not ever know it. And so here we are. We're closing out this video, Building Winning Relationships Part 2, right here on the Ziglar Coaching Academy. This is part of the Strategies for Success Blueprint of Achievement series. We have the first 6 parts already posted. We got 4 more parts to come. Stay tuned, they're coming. And if you enjoyed this and you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to the Ziglar Coaching Academy and leave a comment there. You can reach out to us at Ziglar.com and learn more about how we support coaches and help people just like you grow in every area of your life. Thank you so much for being a part of this, and we'll see you again next time.